Good morning. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Advanced Narcissism Understanding. Today's lecture is a sponsored lecture, sponsored by Rochelle for Gerard. And if you've been on my channel for a while, you know Gerard. Gerard's written in a few times. He is the byproduct of your typical baby boomer parents. So it kind of figures that he would be making a baby boomer submission, and I thought this would be a good student contribution to the lecture hall. So let's hear what he has to say. Hi, Ollie. I need a sponsor for this email, although I don't think it'll be very long. I was on Tumblr. Well, there's your first mistake, Gerard. I mean, Tumblr's a cesspit. Is a cesspool. All of social media is a cesspool. Tumblr basically being the societal narcissist baby boomers playpen. That's where they've put all their infant snowflakes, millennials. That's where they all chill out and hang, where it's just one virtue signal. It's just a competition of virtue signaling and porn. And I think now I read that Tumblr's been bought out by like Pornhub. So now they're just going to be what everybody already knew they were, was porn. Basically marketed to 13-year-olds, because anybody, it's just an abhorrent platform. It's just terrible. I was on Tumblr where I came across a popular post that said, "Can we make a reality show where a baby boomer tries to apply for a job for the first time in 30 years using their own advice, and see how soon it takes them to have a mental breakdown?" That is a good idea for a show. Oh, it would never happen though. It would be an immediate. It'd be hilarious, the victimization and why it's not their fault and how it's actually everyone else's fault. Things are like this. This was responded by a boomer apologist with, "You know what? This actually isn't funny at all, because this really does happen. Boomers can't afford to retire." Oh, bullshit. If a boomer can't afford to retire, it's because they spent every last cent of their retirement on themselves. It's because they've gotten so out of control that they just won't stop spending on anything or anyone. And then they expect, because fuck it, that's what we had kids for. That's what Generation X and Millennials and Gen Y is for. To take care of us. Oh, we spend all our money. So what? You take care of it now. That's a big part of why millennials can't find jobs in their field. And if they lose their job, which can mean a variety of things, including their companies finding an excuse to fire them so they don't have to pay for anything for their retirement, which happened to my uncle and 5 people he worked with over 1 year. They aren't as desirable because they're retirement age. The world has changed a lot since they got jobs. They thought they were supposed to be secure, and now their old strategies that used to work for finding a job don't work anymore, and they don't know what does work. So a lot are desperate. I recently talked to a woman who had to be in at least her mid-60s, who was begging on a street corner because she was replaced by a younger person and lost her job of 18 years. And it's not the first time I've heard a story like that. A lot of people who were never rich to begin with lost a lot in the 2008 financial crisis and never fully recovered. Yeah, but not the baby boomers by and large. The baby boomers were just fine in the housing crash. Because they already owned all the houses. The baby boomers were the ones who sold out. Like, this is such bull. Of course, this is coming from a boomer apologist. The boomers were the ones who sold their houses to primarily Generation X after 2001. In 2001, with the whole housing push, they got rich. They bought low. They sold high. And now because of one boomer might have gotten forced out after 18 years, well, you know what? That's been happening to Generation X now, and the other generation's going on 20 years. And the reason she was forced out is because she was never going to retire anyway, because she was just going to hold on to that job and hold on to the power. She's in her mid-60s. That's retirement age. You're supposed to retire at 65. Some jobs, and I'm sure she's probably not telling you the whole story, have a requirement age that you have to retire at 66. The people who didn't recover from the financial crisis are people like our Gen Xers. Who do you think sold all these properties? It was the baby boomers. You're talking about that crash was from 2008. The housing market crash. Who do you think were the homeowners? Who do you think had sold all those houses? Baby boomers. You look at my parents' house. Houses. The one in North Jersey. The one in Hasbrook Heights, they bought in 1972 for $30,000. I think it was 38. Yeah, it was like 37,000. They put 20. They mortgaged $30,000 over 30 years. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? The house is assessed at like 600,000 at the latest one. The house down the shore in '93, they bought it for 130,000. So another one with $750,000. If baby boomers are suffering today, it's because they blew all their money on themselves. I'm sure I know there's always going to be exceptions, but by and large, as a generation, this is what they do. And of course, this is a boomer. If this is a boomer apologist on Tumblr, I could tell you exactly what I'll tell you exactly what that is. Exactly what that apologist is. That apologist is arguing as if they're arguing to their parents. Why? Because it pisses off their parents, because it favors the grandparents who put that in their fucking heads. The ones on Tumblr, because Tumblr, let's face it, is teenage. You wouldn't have, I don't think. It's a better chance of that's a grandparent backup, because the grandparent looks down their nose at the Gen X parent. I guarantee you that's a Gen X parent that's directed at. Baby boomers didn't all just magically become financially secure as they got older. This generation war bullshit is 100% manufactured to keep our anger misdirected. Bullshit it is. It's not baby boomers screwing over millennials. It's rich capitalists of every living generation screwing over baby boomers, their parents, Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Zers, and all at once and all in different ways. Bullshit. They don't like that the target's been identified. It's these people, and behind the scenes they're just manipulating everyone. Bullshit. The baby boomers were handed everything, and they drove up the cost of it all. They ruined it, destroyed it, ran it into the ground, and now they want to play victim. Hell no. And if we collectively realize that we're not enemies and that we actually have a common cause with common enemies, it's really bad for the people doing this to us, which is why they're pushing the generation war thing so hard. Who's they? The generation war is barely being pushed. There are very few people calling this out. The fact that this person is so deluded that they think that there's some kind of generation war. Think about how scary that is. If you know anything about Tumblr, the age of the person probably arguing for this and the amount of brainwashing that had to be put into their heads. My parents would brag. My parents bragged when I was like saving for my first car, my first used car. You know, that every kid, it's like for some broken down jalopy. Well, meanwhile, my mom was like, when I got my license, I could buy a new car right off the showroom just on a part-time job. We all could. I think I paid $2,500 for my first Mustang off the showroom floor. Yeah, me too. Well, what the fuck? Same with housing, same with all of it. And then they look down their nose. And now they say they can't afford to retire? Why? If they can't afford to retire, if the boomer can't afford to retire, that's on them. They had it all handed to them, and they spent through it all. And then Gen X's futures, Gen Y's future, Gen Z's, the millennials, they just have run roughshod now over 3, 4, 5 generations. Not only taking up their parents' wealth. Not only did they get everything that their parents left to them when they died, which was substantial by the time they died a lot of times. Because if you're like I was 30, in my 30s till my grandparents started dying. Their houses actually skyrocketed in value. Think about that as well, of all the inheritance they got off of their parents' property and their parents' estates, and how low their parents had bought in and what they sold that shit for. Mind-blowing. Wasn't baby boomers buying houses in the late 2000s. They were fucking into that shit since the 60s. To which a boomer added, as a 62-year-old boomer, I hate the term, wow, there's a 62-year-old boomer hanging on Tumblr? That ain't fucking creepy. Like I said, like they want their more proof. A 62-year-old boomer is on fucking Tumblr? With 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds and 13-year-olds, like I'm saying, they're hanging on. They're hanging on to all of it. As a 62-year-old boomer, I hate that term. I couldn't agree more. Perhaps I was different in that I never expected or even wanted a secure job. For programmers, the best jobs are not secure. The secure jobs are boring. So I didn't mind jumping jobs every 3 to 5 years. How selfish. That had the side benefit of giving me larger salary jumps than staying in one job and hoping for a decent raise. 2%, 3% when inflation of 5%. You got to be kidding me. And you know what you can't do when you do shit like that? Yeah, in the short term, you're going to make the money, but if you don't save it, you know what happens? You've built no retirement, no 401k. You've put in no amount of time or roots in any one company. And eventually, employers see how many times you've left and they stop hiring you. Why am I going to hire you? You're going to leave in 2-3 months. You're going to leave in they don't get it because it's all about them. And now they're going to complain. Well, let's see where this is going. Already in the late 70s and early 80s, I was seeing the carnage of my parents' generation. Their parents' generation who went through a depression, 2 wars, a world war with a genocide, and a Korean war after that we're still fucking with now, okay? And then they gave life to these little sociopaths, in the late 40s, early 50s, where they had everything handed to them from their parents who had been traumatized since birth. the carnage of my parents' generation. Wow. They signed up when you were expected to find a secure job and stay at the same company for generations. Globalization sent work overseas and secure jobs vanished. So I saw through the illusion earlier than some. Nevertheless, I'm facing age discrimination. Dude, you're 62 years old? Like, yeah, I mean, of course you are. A 62-year-old programmer, like what? Like this is what they don't see. You're 62 years old and trying to in a technology field, and you don't see, like, you think you're being discriminated against. I don't feel any more entitled to a job than anyone younger than me. Yes, you do, but because they can pay younger people less than I usually get, and health benefits for people my age are painfully expensive. Bring on single payer, damn it. Gives me. I'm facing an uphill battle to get a job now. Yet, he wants to take they take no responsibility for the decisions he made in the 70s and 80s, jumping job to job for quick money at the time. None. Now he wants everyone, like I said earlier, now they want everyone else to pay for their shit. Bring on single payer. Why? Because you didn't manage your life correctly? Now that's the baby boomer. Hanging on at 62 years old to a technology field and hanging out on Tumblr. I mean, what more can you say about this generation? And then they're going to sit on their high horse and look down their nose at everyone else. A baby boomer, they can't retire. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. They hang on like cliffhanger, like by their fucking fingernails. For life. Sucking every drop they can and every ounce of pity they can. And then at the end, now, because he wanted to jump around in a field and have no base in anything, now he wants single payer. Right on. Oh, vultures. I'm facing an uphill battle to get a job now. Well, with entitlement like that, of course you are. Who's going to want to take that on? Globalization and financialization has fucked us all, of every age group. I saw what the one percenters were doing back in the 70s, but I had no more say in the matter than anyone else does today. Blaming the boomers is pointless. As a boomer, I'm aggravated by people my age calling the millennials or Gen whatever lazy and entitled. They only do that because they haven't lost their jobs yet and discovered what a bitch the market is right now, or they're so financially secure. Like, look, you're one of the few boomers that's still this guy's in a technology field. Like they're just gaslighting themselves. That, you know, like, do you get it? You're 62 years old. You're supposed to be retiring in 3 years. How long is a company supposed to? You know, a company, it's cost, they don't get it. They don't get the cost of hiring, of training, of all that. And then when you turn around and have a track history of I guess, 40-something years of work history, you just upping and leaving every 2 years, who the fuck wants to deal with that kind of entitlement? Because at that point, they know what they're hiring. They know what they are, and they know your trouble. Before I sign off, I wanted to mention, whatever your political views, this boomer is fucked up. He mentions how he saw what the one percenters were doing and knew globalization was doing thing XYZ, but then didn't seem to be able to position himself again to gain from this foresight. Exactly. He's still, because at the end, what he's looking for is single payer. He's looking for everyone else to pay for his shit. That's what he's looking for. At the end of the day, the boomer wants no accountability for their life. That he can sit here and make an argument that, yeah, instead of having roots in a company and building a retirement or building a 401k or building a basis anywhere, I decided to take the quick money, jump from job to job and have no basis anywhere. Now I have a hard time getting a job, no health care, a hard time getting health care. So now I want single payer. Because I want I want to take no responsibility for any of the actions in my life. That's the baby boomer. That's the baby boomer, and wants you to stop bringing it up. Hey guys, we're all in this together. Fuck you. Fuck off, we're not. You did this, boomer. You did this. Not only did you inherit your parents' wealth, cheap rates, cheap housing, cheap automotive, cheap everything. Interest rates were higher. But would you rather pay 7 to 12% on $30,000 over 30 years? Or would you rather have paid 3 to 4 to 5%, 6% on $250 to $500,000 over 30 years like the rest of the generations did? Houses that were primarily purchased from boomers to primarily Gen Xers and millennials. And then it all fucking crashed. And now you want to sit and play poor mouth? Fuck out of here. Oh, we're all in this together. That's them, man. That's them. The vampire. That's why they're the vampire. Looking forward to what you have to hear. I'm looking forward to hear what you have to say about these situations. And thank you for all your work, Gerard. And you gotta understand, Gerard is raised by these type of fucking baby boomers to a T that take zero responsibility for anything in their life. If you remember the line from Gerard's mother, there was no book on how to raise you back then. He was born in the 90s for fuck's sake. She said like those words in like 1994, like the internet existed. That's the boomer. No responsibility for anything in their lives, class. That's the key you always have to remember whenever you are dealing with anyone in this generation. Is because they're gonna bitch and cry and then try. If you don't know, you could fall into it. So, with that being said, thank you to Rochelle for sponsoring the topic in class. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Gerard for writing in. Really appreciate it. Everyone, please leave any questions or comments in the section below. And with that being said, if you'd like to make a contribution to the channel, to the lecture circuit, if you'd like to write in, sponsor something for someone else, or just make a contribution to the channel in general, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Please share this lecture. Please like and share this lecture anywhere you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. Class is dismissed. Take care.